WI speaker event for the few that could make it. Today we have Dr. Charles Morgan coming to talk to us about neuroscience and psychology and a whole gamut of things. Right now he is a professor of national security studies at the University of New Haven. His focus is teaching national security studies, domestic and international intelligence analysis, and issues in deception. Dr. Morgan is developing a concentration in the human aspects, intelligence analysis, and psychological operations arenas that are relevant to the intelligence community. He has a pretty robust background with military folks, doing research at SEER School, helping with selection processes for Special Operations Forces down at Fort Bragg, et cetera, et cetera. So, without further ado, I will hand it off to you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Actually, I was a Navy guy. I wasn't Army, but I've done more work with the Army, I think, over all these years than I ever did with the Navy. So what I would like to talk to you a little bit about today is something I was asked to do in 2010 and 2011. I was getting ready to leave over at the CIA, where I'd worked for a number of years, and the Intelligence Science Board said, could you give us a brief on what's in store for us in the future? I was like, I don't know, predicting the future is really hard. So I told my boss at the time, I said, well, I think the best I'll do is make an estimate over what I think is going to happen in the next 5 years, given certain technologies that were being developed at the time. And this is a bit of an extension of that. I presented it to the SSG, and it was some information I think some people didn't know, and I think it's good for people to be aware of what's going on out there. The one thing that makes predicting a little bit of the future easier when you look at biomedical science is that labs are working fairly systematically with overtly stated goals. So if you think about it, science is not really done in a haphazard way. It takes time, preparation. You have to test multiple hypotheses, develop techniques. So it is not really rocket science to look at a lab and say, this is where they're going. And here are probably two of the Achilles heel points in the design. But if they surmount those, they will probably achieve what they say they want to do. So that's a little bit of what this is about. I was going to give you my thoughts on mind, body, and beyond, gene slicing, Dr. Ventnor's work, DNA encryption, and something about memory, that the past is not what it used to be. What I'd like you to consider for a minute is that one of the things that most people have a hard time understanding is that there is a difference between our mind and our body. Your personal experience is usually of an integrated operating system since the time you were little. However, there has been a plan in many labs to figure out how do we help people whose bodies don't work in the way that they want them to do, who have neurologic defects. Could you start the first video? So as a way of surmounting that, people are experimenting 5 or 6 years ago, or as early as 2008,
instant basis.
With whether or not you can do a brain-robotic interface. I don't know if there's a volume for that.
That we go through with our monkeys as they go through and try to learn how to use this robot. So they're using brain signals, so signals from their motor cortex that we pull out of wires into our system, and our computers then decode what it is that the monkey's intending to do, and drive the endpoint of this arm forward and backward and around through space. The monkeys have brain control over this robotic arm to move it forward and grab a piece of fruit as it's presented, and then bring it back to their mouth to feed themselves.
Incredible as it may seem, these monkeys learned to feed themselves with a robot arm that was being directly controlled by their brains, as if it was simply part of them.
This is a biofeedback, closed-loop kind of experiment, and that there's almost an automatic learning that's going on, where we're communicating with the...
So essentially, when you're little and you're growing up and you're learning how to work your appendages, you are making good motor neuron connections and inhibitory connections. And what they're able to do back in 2008 with a primate is have it learn through trial and error that by thinking, it can move a robotic arm and feed itself. It didn't take too long for the neural interface issue to be resolved once people figured out you could implant electrodes on brain tissue and then take a biological signal and turn it into an electrical signal and amplify it. It took a little while for the monkeys to figure out how to do it. Early on, they would give it a little joystick, so it was like playing a video game. And pretty soon, the monkeys, actually there's a chimp that's done it as well, she figured out she just didn't need to use the little joystick and could just think about it. And then the arm would move, and the monkey would begin to experiment and would think about where it wanted the arm to go. So it was learning, I have a new appendage. The same is true in people. As you can see, just 4 years later, we see it being done in humans. You can start that for me, please. With people who have neurologic injury and can't use their limbs. Ooh, I don't know if it'll play. Yeah, try and hover over the screen, I think. There we go. Oh, drag it down. There you go. Perfect. There, it's right there.
My life has changed dramatically since the accident. As of right now, there's nothing to cure paralysis, besides maybe a miracle. The first thing I'd do if I get my arms back, I would hug my daughter. It'd be really nice to scoop something up in a spoon and feed myself again. This is going to go beyond spinal cord if this works. This is going to go MS. This is going to go stroke. This is huge. This is millions and millions and millions of people. I'm pretty much broken from the neck down, I guess you could say. The only thing that I have left that is untouched is my brain. And obviously I'm able to use it very good. I'm able to do this and do that. No memory loss, no nothing. So I opted for an experimental surgery to go at the one thing that I still have.
What we try to do is put a grid in place that's capable of recording signals from the brain. So when you think I want to move, there's actually electrical impulses in the brain. We want to be able to record those electrical impulses and then decode what the electrical impulses mean and use that to control an object or an arm.
That's right.
People have thought for a long time that we might be able to tap into the brain, but it's only recently that we've gotten closer and closer. There's some great work going on here at the University of Pittsburgh by a gentleman named Andy Schwartz. And Andy has shown that he can get a monkey to control a robotic arm with an amazing degree of freedom by thought.
So we've developed technology where we can implant an array of electrodes, microelectrodes, in the cerebral cortex of monkeys. And we can record activity from many neurons in the brain simultaneously. And from that signal, we can extract the monkey's intention to move its arm. And now that we have that, we can intercept that signal and use it, instead of moving the monkey's own arm, to use it to move a prosthetic arm.
Just 2 weeks. I think he said it exercise.
What it takes to get in people is a large team. So we've basically been somewhat isolated in our laboratory, working on monkeys, proving the technology, just making discoveries, validating the technology, developing new ways of doing this. And what we've been able to do recently is pass a lot of this knowledge that we've gained to clinical colleagues. They came to the laboratory, learned a lot of what we're doing, and then took it back to the clinic and developed the technology as appropriate for humans.
We were implanting our first patient in a clinical trial to place subdural grids or electrodes on the surface of the brain in an attempt to use them as the brain-computer interface with the ultimate goal of controlling a prosthetic arm. And we'll start out simply with trying to do some cursor control, hoping that over the 28 days that he's implanted, that we will be able to progress to potentially being able to control a robotic arm.
2 days after the surgery, we plugged me in and started to basically train my brain, train the computer to my brain the way I'm thinking. The computer doesn't know up, down, left, right, it just knows the signals that I'm thinking. For the first couple days, it was just, what's up, what's down? How I do it is I look at the ball at the top, and through my peripheral vision, I see the ball that's moving. So I'm focusing on the target. And almost with my peripheral, if I want to go up, I'm with my mental eyes, or whatever you want to call it, lifting up, trying to get that ball to go up or trying to get it to go down. So I'm focusing on the target while watching the moving ball with my peripheral. It's like a one-player video game. I'm trying to beat my own score, because there is a score, there's a certain percentage. It's out of 6, each time I do it, it's out of 16 balls, if you want to say. And I want to know that number. If it's 13, I want the 14 or I want the 15. And so it's just a challenge to myself. One thing I found out that if I focus too hard, it doesn't work right. It has to be very natural.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad.
We're making such ground on this every single day. Every other day we're just going leaps and bounds. And knowing that we're doing that, if I had another week or 2 weeks or month, where would we be then? We'd be. I mean, we've already done stuff that's unprecedented. You know, I've been doing stuff. I've been told that with the 3D curse control, people have been doing it for a year, 2 years. That they haven't got the type of control and percentages that I've gotten in a day, literally a day. The highlight was 45 minutes ago. I got to use a robotic arm for the first time, and we got to reach out and touch somebody for the first time in 7 years.
So what you see is people struggled with how to get the electrodes on the surface of the brain, how to do the brain learning. The computer algorithms have improved. This is by trial and error as it begins to recognize what the subject's brain is doing. But after that, if you look at that as a scientific development in medicine, you can quickly see the possibilities that emerge, right? They're playing with motor function and linking it to thought. So the next step, really, when you think about it, was to simultaneously try it with another non-human animal and find out if she could run a robot on the other side of the planet. And the essence of this experiment is, at first she had to walk on the treadmill to keep the robot walking that she could observe on the computer screen, and then she just stopped walking and it would run the robot in Japan. So you can have a brain here in the United States plugged in, running a robotic device, a mechanical device, via the internet somewhere else in the world. So that was pretty cool. It also has some fun implications. If you see now, where do you imagine this going when you think of it as an offensive or defensive opportunity with respect